Hello and welcome to Castle's Corner. I'm Coach Castle, joined again with Mr. Matt Morton. And today we have a special topic for you, something many of you probably never heard of. It's called biotensegrity. And we're going to be talking about it in terms of postural correction, correcting musculature imbalances, and correcting respiration as well. So Matt's got some good, actually anecdotal stories about stuff he's been through, which required knowledge of tensegrity. I, of course, have to know about biotensegrity to help people repair their bodies. But please, Matt, why don't you tell me that awesome story you just tell me about how you had to learn about it originally?
Oh yeah, sure. Okay, we were in jump school in Benning, and we learned everything about tensegrity as it applied to the parachute and your body, the rigging and your body, because all that stuff is an extension of you, the tensile strength of the fibers. It's no different in your body. When you wear a coat, that's just an extra layer of you. When you're with a parachute and the harness and all the jump gear, that's just an extension of you. So we had to be very smart on our posture and understand load bearing, and what you had for the front, you had to have for the rear, and proper proportioning. Otherwise, you couldn't pull correctly because when you're coming down, that air is your resistance.
Well, what did you have to learn specifically? I mean, because I can imagine, I don't know directly what you had to learn, but I can imagine you had to learn basics like how to turn, how the wind would affect you, basic things like increasing tension on one side compared to the other side, stuff like that.
That's true, but I don't want to really get into it because I'd be sitting here talking to you about how crosswinds hit and
Oh, yeah, that's
drafts
true.
and
Yeah.
all of
Another
that. I'm not going to bore you, but just know that what you do to the right, you have to do to the left. What you do to the front, you have to do to the rear. So we had to have really strong core. We had to have strong rear delts and lats. We had to have strong pecs. You know,
Oh,
the
real
whole
quick,
thing.
let's address what tensegrity actually is real quick. For those of you who don't know what tensegrity is, it's just a combination of the words tension and integrity. I actually get asked all the time if I made it up. I'm like, no, I didn't make that word up.
Oh
I'm not
no,
that
this has been
clever.
around forever and ever and ever. And
Well, I
all
know. Go
and,
ahead.
and, and the way it applies with this fitness business is it's your soft tissue that connects. Your bones just kind of sit there. If we were to lay the body flat with no tension and it laid on the floor like a blanket, we'd look like a cup of soup, with the bone kind of floating around because you have no solidity in the broth. That's
Mhm.
the soft tissue.
Well, actually, I have a little thing. I was just making a video of this one. I just made a video about biotensegrity, kind of explaining what it is, but this is a good structure. You guys can see it and understand. So what this is just a child's toy. It's just sticks and basically elastics. It's one continuous elastic actually, but these sticks would basically represent bones. And the tension is obviously evenly distributed throughout the elastics, which is why it's able to maintain this structure. Now, just like with the human body, I can compress it, I can pull it apart, I can do all kinds of stuff. I can twist it, I can contort it, and it's always going to go to the original shape if it's healthy. If it's not healthy, if you have some form of an imbalance, let's say you never train your back, but you train your chest a lot because you're a gym bro, what's going to happen is your chest is going to get really tight and then your back is going to get really loose. So what's going to happen is your chest is going to get overused or it's going to get short locked, and then your back is going to be underused or overstretched. It's going to be long locked. So it's going to create a big imbalance in your body. Now, well, just to show you again, I mean, just if I move two of the sticks, it affects all of the sticks. If I push them together, they all get pushed together. I mean, this is how the human body works. It's a tensile structure. Your muscles, they do not only pull and move levers. When they're not doing that, they also have to maintain a certain length between the bony points where they connect. And they do that by your body naturally counterbalancing itself. An easy example I always give is the human skull. So when you got the skull, most people don't know this, but it's balanced on the spine in such a way that it's actually weighted more in the front. So the reason why your skull is not constantly drooping forward and you're not constantly aching in the back of your neck from contracting your neck muscles permanently is because the muscles also connect and maintain a certain length, which is counterbalanced by the weight of the front of your head. Your sternocleidomastoid muscles connect here on your mastoid, little bony spot here, kind of like right here. And all that does is it supplies the opposing force the other direction. And the neck muscles connect here, maintaining the counterbalance for the front. And that's why your head sits the way that it sits. Now, this is a super ridiculously intricate structure just for that one part of the body. But your spine is also made up like this. Your entire body is made like this. Now, a simple example of how this would affect you, like how it translates to injury and stuff, is let's just say that you go and you make a big jump, like a long jump, and you don't watch your footing. If you land without watching your footing and you land on a stone or something with one of your foot, you're going to supinate the foot, you're going to twist it, you're going to twerk it, you're going to get a sprain in it. And that's because all of the force was concentrated at the one point of the structure instead of being correctly dispersed throughout the structure, landing equally on both feet. So that's how tensile structures work best, is when everything is equally dispersed. Now, in your training, or perhaps due to an injury, you can develop bad habitual patterns, training only the front of your body, or due to incorrect training, not knowing how to exercise properly, you could only be training muscles like really good in front with great exercise for the front, but you don't have any idea how to train your back. So maybe you are training your back, but you're not actually training the muscles, which will create these imbalances. And like Matt said, basically, if you just think about a skeleton, if this wasn't held together with wires and screws, it would just be a pile of bones on the floor. Now, that is the case as well with all the muscles if you disconnect the muscle attachments. But as soon as you attach them, like go in there and you just attach them to all the little bony points, the skeleton starts to stand up, and it's supported without any effort on your part, without you actually contracting muscles. It's supported because it is properly balanced and counterbalanced. Some of the most basic assessments I'm sure you do, Matt, is just having people stand upright and walk a couple feet forward, backwards, and laterally. It's some of the easiest way to spot muscle imbalances. Imbalances can be caused by anything, by the way. It doesn't need to be training. How you're sitting in your car frequently, wallet and one ass cheek is really big, it's going to jerk your pelvis. You can have wear high heels a lot, that's going to screw it all up. I mean, there's so many things, I don't want to give you a list, but it has to be corrected. You want to have a balanced, efficient body, because if just your correct body is just balanced correctly, everything that you do is more efficient, and obviously you're much more healthy and you don't have pain anywhere. I hope all that makes sense. I didn't miss anything, did I, Matt? I mean, I missed a lot, but I simplified it, I think.
No. You did a good job, and what that all leads into, you were talking about the bad sitting in the car and bad sitting in the chair and all that business. Look, if you don't train the front and the back equally, you're going to miss out. You're going to have an imbalance. If you don't, and you're going to have bad posture. And once you start having bad posture, it takes a lot to correct it. You're going to say, oh my gosh, that's so painful. No, that's what your body wants to do. What's painful is the bad posture.
A biggie with people's posture, by the way, is the vast majority of people don't even know what their posture is supposed to look like. Your posture naturally.
And what's scary about that is, like, with my spinal cord injury and everything, if I didn't consciously always put myself in good posture, as broken as I am, I'd look all curved, and I'd look. You see me when we talked, and I wasn't paying attention. My right side sits way higher than my left. I'm going at a 60-degree angle almost, from my body being broken. But I consciously keep my posture good.
I was gonna say, that's actually, let's since this is the Adapt and Overcome podcast, I mean, I like to give our own personal stories with this as well, because it helps. I mean, I've actually had to spend the vast majority of my life being incredibly conscious of my posture, and in large part due to many injuries I've had. So just a simple one, I've said this one before, but I've actually had multiple times broken and cracked ribs. And because that's happened to me so many times, I don't know if anybody's experienced it before, but it's very painful. It really screws with your breathing. It causes you to kind of be in a constant state of anxiety. Sleeping is almost impossible unless you're sitting upright. Like, there's all these things. So as you can imagine, this is one of the things I'm talking about, which will create these imbalances. One of the reasons I had to learn about this years ago was because I was literally just kind of permanently hunched over, breathing extremely shallow, very poorly. And of course, this was resulting in me being unable to control my mood. I was always angry. I was always in a state of anxiety, panic, stress. I couldn't sleep, all of these things, just because I had an injury, which created me to have a bad habit, which lasted for years. And I didn't know that all of my problems were stemming from this, because nobody told me. They were like, oh, well, you need a massage. No, you have to go see an acupuncture. You just need to, but none of those is going to address the problem. They're Band-Aids. So every time I've ever had an injury, I don't really listen to anybody. I go and I do my own research on the thing and I figure out how to actually fix myself. And I can't even tell you, I mean, 99 out of 100 times, what I found out was the actual cause of the problem. No one else, no doctor, nobody would have told me that was the problem. They would have been completely and wildly wrong. They would have kept guessing, run hundreds of tests and still been wrong. I see it all the time with my clients. Sometimes I get a client who's not even a client. I get somebody who comes in, they've been to doctors and doctors and doctors, they don't know. Somebody sends them to me because I'm the magic man. They come see me, I have a 10-minute talk with them. I say, well, here's your problem. Your wallet is this thick, how you're walking in those shoes is the issue. I need you to change this, change that, change your shoes, blank, blank, blank. And then 3 months later, they're a different person just because they made these simple lifestyle changes. They didn't even need me. Again, like I always say, you just need the right knowledge. Oh, goodness. But nobody talks about these things. Nobody talks about you have to correct your patterns, your daily habitual patterns. This is something people don't understand. You are not what you do once a month. You're not what you do once a week. You're not that one vacation you take a year, the 2 vacations, whatever. That's not you. You are the total of the daily things you do regularly every single day. That's what adds up over time. So just like if you get really fat, you're 400-pound fatty, you didn't get that way in a week. Okay, it took you years to get there. You're not going to lose all that weight in a couple months, not healthily. So it's going to take you, again, years to take it off. And it's the same thing if you screw up your body, if you have an imbalance, if you have an injury of some form, it will not correct itself overnight. There's not a pill you can take. Steroids won't do it. Massages are probably not going to help. You have to consciously do the work. You have to be mindful of your posture. Everything is stacked up correctly. You have to make sure you're doing whatever corrective breathing exercises or postural correction exercises you have to do, whatever stretching you have to do. And as I think you already know the point I'm getting at, nobody can breathe for you except you. Nobody could stretch for you except for you. No, like you have to do it. Now it's only 5 minutes a day, maybe 10. But if you have to do it, you have to do it, and you have to do it every goddamn day consistently. Only then, after a period of months, will you fix these structural imbalances. And yes, it must be that way. There is no other way. I mean, you're in a wheelchair. I can only imagine the shit you have to deal with constantly being extremely mindful of everything that you do. I don't have it that bad, thank God. But at points in my life, of course, I have. I went through a 6-month period of time where I had to sleep with my head belted to a wall to sleep. I mean, it's very miserable sometimes. You know about the injuries. So what about you? How would you handle this with, say, a wheelchair client, somebody who's permanently confined to a wheelchair, somebody who has a severe disability in this case? Because you know a lot about that, I'm sure.
I do it all the time. And I tell them, always be prepared on how you're sitting. In other words, don't just naturally slump and all this kind of thing. Always pretend when you're sitting that you're wearing a suit coat, and or if it's a military person, I'll tell them, pretend you're back in your military dress uniform. Your shoulders are back, your chest is up, you're breathing through your stomach, you know. Everybody wants to call it yoga breathing. I call it proper breathing.
Yeah, correct.
It just is what it is.
Well, we all do it. We all do it naturally until we're about 5 or 6. Culture takes over. We start wearing tight clothes, sucking in our guts when a pretty girl walks by, etc. But we all do it naturally until about 5 or 6.
And dogs do it. It's funny. I sit around and watch my dog taking a nap, and it's just,
Well, there's 6,642 different mammals. Well,
sure.
Humans are the only one who breathes vertically. Now, granted, humans are also the only ones who are standing for prolonged periods of times, and that shift has actually changed many things. As you know, going back to biointegrity, it's changed many things in our postural shift. Our vertebrae has an extra 2 curves in it, all of these things to balance ourselves. But I mean, the thing is, well, I mean, just to go back to it, yeah, you have to breathe like that. We're the only mammal who breathes with our chest, and it's basically purely for vanity reasons.
And if you breathe through your stomach, you're gonna get smaller and tighter core anyway, because when you breathe in, you're gonna tighten your abs.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to sit there and fake anything. It just is what it is.
Well, plus when you breathe, I get this from my clients all the time. Aren't I going to look fat if isn't going to be bad for my abs? Well, number one, the abs is a convex muscle anyways. It's already shaped like this. It's not flat. It doesn't go in. It already goes like this, number one. Number two, by breathing out, by breathing into your belly, you're forced to relax your abdominals. That action of relaxing your abdominals relaxes everything, giving you a nice, good stretch. And then when you, again, exhale, you should be doing it consciously, pulling your belly in when you exhale, which, as you already pointed out, is just going to be strengthening it and tightening it. So you will actually have
who a new competitor is in bodybuilding or fitness, physique, what the hell ever, right? And they get up there and they're like, right? And it's like, okay, you have no idea what you're doing because you're supposed to come into it, tighten up slowly, breathe out consistently, blow all your oxygen out to make yourself look the smallest, tightest you possibly can. And if you naturally breathe like that, it's not even hard to do.
Well, over posing too, the over flexing, the guys who look like they're trying to
get the people,
like about to die. I'm like, you realize if you come in conditioned, the amount of posing you're doing is irrelevant. You should just be able to flex nice and easy, and it should look exactly the same to you trying to, give yourself a hernia. There's no difference there. It's just your poor conditioning. You didn't check your water levels. You didn't check your salt levels. You didn't diet enough fat off. Something happened. Your conditioning sucks. You can't make that go away by flexing harder. You're just going to cramp up and ruining your posing. That's all you're going to do.
I've gotten so good with everything because luckily I had a symposium with Arnold and Franco way back in the early 90s before I went to Somalia. And they taught us everything, from powerlifting to how to hold the bar, how to do this, how to do that, to make our lifts better and pose better. Arnold, to that day, he just dropped into a side chest and he's sitting there just talking to us and laughing and having a good time. But then and I said, I'm going to get that good. And I did. And all it takes, you are what you practice.
Mm-hmm.
You are what you eat. You are what you practice. You are how you breathe. You are how you sit. It
Daily.
takes a conscious discipline to better yourself in a whole health environment. Not, gee, I need my creatine and gee, I need my aminos and I'm going to take all the right supplements, but then I'm going to go to Burger King 3 times a day. It doesn't work like that.
Mm-hmm. A big thing too is just balance. I mean, it's always a balance. You have to slowly get into it. I mean, and I do mean slowly. You have to really slowly get into it. You have to slowly understand that you're primarily building a habit before anything. Then once you've got the habit
going, Burger
going,
King 3 times a day, drop it down to once a day. Make it once a week after a while. Then make it once a month.
Or just when you want to at that point.
Yeah. And don't kill yourself when you're like, oh, well, I'm out, but I'm starving. I can't do this. No. Yes, you can. You can miss a workout once in a while, just the next day, pick up where you left off.
It's one of those things, people, they have this really nasty habit of bringing their past mistakes or past failures forward to the next day. Don't carry that shit. We don't, well, I mean, point of fact, we do not know what happens when we sleep. We really don't. We have no freaking clue. So as far as you know, every single day you wake up could just be you and a little alien putting a helmet on and playing this game, where you're Matt today. You have no idea if those memories are real or not. So my advice to everybody is what I do. Do the very fucking best you can in every situation, every scenario, every day. Perform
better than yesterday.
And perform the way you believe your ideal self would perform in that situation. And if you keep doing that, you'll become your ideal self, and then you get a higher version of yourself, a better judge, and you'll go become him. Hopefully.
Well, I always tell people, that I know that are just beginning. Okay, so you spend $5 on a cheeseburger and a candy bar. That was yesterday. Is that same $5 bill you had in your hand yesterday still with you? No. Well, neither is that candy bar or hamburger. Just who cares? That was yesterday.
Leave it alone. Move on. Do the best you can today. Perhaps the day before you didn't sleep enough. Your ghrelin levels were very high. Perhaps some emergency happened. You couldn't bring your planned food. Who knows? That was a shitty day. Okay. You had a bad day. Next day, do better, at least a little bit better than the day previously. Drop the ego. You ain't got to be perfect. There's no extra work. You don't have to catch up. Just start again.
Even
Do
the
the
best
best you can do.
champions in the world, and I know Bill Wallace and Chuck Norris, and I know Bill. I talk to him a couple times a week. Crushed leg judo champion, became the world karate full contact champion after Chuck Norris. He was in the Good Guys Wear Black with them and Walker Texas Ranger. And I've known him for years. And here's the thing, never meet your heroes unless you just want to treat them like Bill or Patty that you hang out with, because they're not perfect. I'm Mr. Olympia. I'm not perfect. I was perfect that day. And if you told me, hey, you have to compete again in 3 months and this is your day, guess what? I'm going to be perfect again then too, you know, but I'm not so far out of it that I wouldn't, for normal everyday life, I beat the socks off of my peers, my other disabled vet peers, and only the ones that are in the veteran Olympics are better at sports than me, you know. But against any other paraplegic, I'll beat the socks off of them, in a physique or like a weightlifting kind of thing, you know. You'd have to take a world champion to beat me because I've kept my discipline. And if I fall out of favor, it's only by about 3 to 5%, and it's easy to correct. If I want that hot dog, guess what? I'm going to eat that hot dog when I go to the ball game Friday night. It's not going to kill me.
Well, let's get back to posture correction. We're a little bit off topic here. We got a couple minutes left, so let's get back to how to correct posture. So I'll give let's say I'll give a couple things you can do, and then we'll switch over to you. We'll call it a day. So let's just call this my tips when it comes to correcting your posture. Okay, so simple things you can do. Number one, make sure that your pelvis is flat. Now, if you don't know what I mean when I say that your pelvis is flat, your pelvis basically should be level with the ground. You'll notice if you're going backwards, or you'll notice you're going forward just by looking in the mirror when you flex your glutes. So just look in the mirror sideways, squeeze your glutes, and you can see your pelvis go nice and flat. Now relax your glutes and see what your pelvis does. Hopefully it stays in the same spot or near to it. If it goes and it sways back or it sways forward, you have a problem. Now, all you have to do in this particular case is just consciously keep your pelvis corrected throughout the day, whichever way it may be. Just turn it back constantly throughout the day. Obviously, mindful means when you think of it, as you think of it. Write it on the back of your hand, write it on your mirror, put it on your cell phone as a background or something. Just remember, if you're serious about correcting your posture, you have to be mindful of it. Nothing else will do it. So that's number one. Number two, be aware of the position of your head. Too many people I see slumping forward, looking down, slumping forward, looking up, or for some reason constantly being turned to one side. I don't know why I see this all the time, but regardless, you want your head level. You want everything level. You don't want down, you don't want back, you don't want sideways or side to side, you don't want crooked of any kind. Basically, level here, level shoulders, level pelvis, and try to keep your feet evenly spaced apart. Now, the next one is going to be very simple. Practice lying down, just flat on your back, fully extended, completely straight. You will notice that your lower vertebrae makes a curve like this when you do that. All I want you to do now is concentrate on taking your vertebrae and pushing them into the ground. This is going to rotate your pelvis as well as lift your legs up off the ground slightly, a few inches. Just keep doing this every morning, every night, a couple repetitions. Over time, this is going to help strengthen you. But really, it's the mindfulness during the day of keeping yourself in perfect balanced equilibrium, which will do it over time. Now, moving forward to so many people I know sit all day. If you are sitting all day, your computer screen, whatever you may be using, make sure it is situated in such a place that it is eye level with you, so you don't need to do this. Make sure that your chair, if it's one of those big, comfy, squishy office chairs, get rid of it and get a hard back, straight chair. You can have a cushion for your butt, but a hard back, straight chair, okay? This is what you want for your back. It's gonna force you to stay upright like this. Again, the cushion is fine for your butt, that's fine, but just keep your back and vertebrae stacked up. And then finally,
a guy in a wheelchair, you want that cushion because
exactly.
that protects your back.
Mm-hmm. You'll get to that in a second, I'm sure. But anyways, and then the last thing I'm going to say, just to keep it simple, is respiration. I know a lot of you already know this, but I'm just going to reiterate it. Breathing correctly corrects your posture. Breathing correctly corrects your jaw. It does a lot of things, guys. To breathe correctly is very simple to understand. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. That is 5 seconds. You should be inhaling to your nose, down, expanding your stomach. Your stomach is only expanding if your abdominals are relaxing and you're starting to look like a pregnant lady. Then you're breathing with your stomach. Then you can inflate your chest a bit. Then I want you to exhale for the same 5-second count. Okay, mouth or nose, doesn't matter at that point. But by breathing like that, you'll be expanding your thoracic cavity. You'll be lengthening elastic, like everything that is connected with these tendons back to the biotensegriting. It's all connected with tons of little rubber bands, basically, your muscles. Every time that you breathe and you fully expand drop your diaphragm, fully expanding your lungs, you fully expand your rib cage in all directions. And then when you exhale, you're fully contracting it in all directions. This is going to help with lengthening and correcting the length of all of these bony things with the muscles attached, which is going to be correcting your overall posture. So again, just the correct breathing, 5 seconds in the nose, into the belly, exhale for 5 seconds. That will translate to 10 seconds of breath or 6 breaths a minute. And again, just a great meditation is closing your eyes and focusing on doing exactly that. It's a great meditation tool as well. On to you, Matt.
Okay, I'm going to tell everything basically from a sitting position because that's where I spend my life for the most part. And this applies to everybody. But every time I hear, oh man, when I sit in a chair, my back hurts. Well, your hips and your knees are in alignment. You're just letting your legs drop and you're looking bow-legged. Well, if you try and walk bow-legged, your back hurts too. So consciously, while you're sitting down, put your body in proper alignment. Your legs will look like an L square and you will feel a pulling of apart and straightening of your muscles. You're just going to feel a straight line, and that takes the pressure off your lower back by your lumbar. And when you're breathing properly, you're going to feel like $1,000,000. And I always tell people when you're sitting, pretend like you've got a ruler or a yardstick across your back. And if that's not a straight line, you're doing it wrong. If you're at the front, it's not a straight line, you're doing it wrong. At the shoulders. And I've been watching this the whole time. You and I sit exactly the same. I just have to lean back more because, of the way that I'm, disproportionately hurt.
Well, I don't use chairs with backs either because I like to consciously focus on keeping my spine upright. You'll see me always in stools pretty much.
But because of my injuries, I have to. But
yeah.
If you've noticed the way I sit, I always sit the same. I always try and look like one of those G.I. Joe dolls or, something like that. You're just straight. You're only bending either this way or forward or up, and that's all elbow. That's where your pins and screws are at. So you can move things. It's all the soft tissue that keeps it all there.
So I should just interrupt and mention this as well. Just because I know somebody's going to ask this. As far as time-wise, it depends on the severity of your postural correction. So some people, they can correct their posture completely in just like 3 or 4 months, if it's not that bad. Some people, well, I'm actually helping a couple right now who are very old. They're in their 70s and their 80s. They've had bad posture for, like 30 or 40 years, maybe 50 years in some cases. It's getting better. It's going to be a while before they're better. I'm hoping maybe 2 years I'll be able to correct their posture, but it's a long process of me going to be constantly bothering and reminding them to constantly be doing their exercises, which, by the way, another thing I should mention about postural correction is it's extremely important to be doing rotational exercises with your spine for 2 reasons. When you're rotating your spine, you're actually also rotating your ribs. They attach at the spine on these little bubbles. And you want to work on rib flexibility as well, because that's going to aid in your respiratory, like breathing more, basically deeper, your VO2 max. And also those rotatory movements are going to really, really, really be good for your spine health, because generally speaking, the spine will kind of over time disintegrate one way or the other way in everybody. Obviously you want it to be perfectly balanced, but that's very rare that it will ever happen that way. So, but by doing these rotational movements, it keeps everything kind of lined up a little bit more. That's why I really recommend doing the oblique twist as well as the oblique crunch. Every time that you do the crunch, you should also do the oblique twist. That way you keep nice and balanced. Of course, a good abdominal crunch, and of course, a back extension performed correctly. All of these movements, it's for the spine. So slow and controlled, guys. I'm sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Oh no, I'd said everything that I felt was worth saying.
Oh, okay. Well, then I think we're done for the day because I got to get ready to another client. So, guys, just to wrap up, tensegrity, I think it's fascinating. I really do. I think you guys should check it out. I mean, maybe not with the anatomy unless you have a problem, but check out like tensegrity structures, tensegrity tables, furniture. They're really cool. You can make them yourself. I mean, they're fascinating to me because they're like floating. Sorry, but biotensegrity in humans is extremely important. I highly recommend you YouTube some videos on it. I have many videos with anatomy about correcting your posture, biotensegrity. I just put up a really good lecture yesterday, actually. Bunch of all this stuff. So check it out in the description below. You'll see all of our links and stuff. If you click on the little button, you'll see my head kind of in an icon down there as well. Make sure you click subscribe, you click the alarm bell so you get all the notifications. And when you click on my actual picture, it'll take you to my channel where I have 500 different videos, 600 videos, 20, 30 different playlists. Most of you guys haven't seen all of this because some of it's old. Doesn't mean it's bad. It's only like a year old, but just because you haven't seen it yet. So make sure you go through that stuff as well. Check out all of Matt's stuff. He's cool. He's got his new YouTube channel. That's linked below as well. Check out his workouts for adapting your workouts at home. Check out my workouts for adapting your workouts at home. Check out all of our stuff. And always leave a comment, leave a like. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. Matt, thank you as always for joining us. You got anything to add?
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, bud. And Matt's again, he's learning about biomechanics right now and he's loving it, I think. So we'll probably end up talking about that again, maybe next week or something else. I don't know. Any preferences, guys? Leave in the comments. If I get enough of one of them, we'll just make that video next week instead. I don't have a particular preference. I just want to help you guys out. So that's it for me, everybody. Have a great day. Stay on your grind. And remember, you have to do the damn work. And I highly encourage you to also do the research. That way you educate yourself. Stay on your grind, guys.